Yeah, we'll get it.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Damon, happy Monday. How are you, dude?
I'm doing great, Curt, and ready to go.
Awesome. Hey, we're here with our buddy Neil. And so Neil, is it Neil Twa? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. So I remember, Damon, we're old enough to remember TWA back in the days, right?
Yeah.
That was way before Neil's time. But so, Neil, just go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and what's going on in your world.
Yeah, simple story short, got involved in e-commerce when the internet came online, discovered that was more fun than being in college, so I dropped out and rode that through the corporate world up into IBM in 2007, where I fired the man. And then, as the saying goes, I burned the boats, but not the bridges, and have never looked back. So 17 years later, I've built offline and online businesses in the e-commerce world, specifically focused in the last 12 years on launching, growing, and building 5 private label physical product brands for both exit and now acquisition, as we are acquiring brands that are between 1.5 and 3 million in EBITDA or net across digital media, DTC, Amazon, FBA, and multi-channel.
Well, dude, that was not your first rodeo, was it? That was quite a
not my first rodeo.
Not your first rodeo. So, all right. So let's dive in. So, what's hot and heavy? What's new and exciting with Amazon? Yep. How are you helping? How are you helping people just conquer their problems with Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon is a single sales channel, and it can be an opportunity. It can be trouble, just like any other sales channel. It can be an opportunity or trouble. So, really, we look at the business holistically. I'm just put 2 words together. Holistically, making up new words on the fly today. And, look at it as a demand capture platform, really. While I start people there, we're always going to go off into demand creation, which could be social commerce on TikTok or other locations, omni-channel locations, media, et cetera, down to retail, QVC, online television ads, et cetera. So it's really about where the brand can expand from wherever it starts. If you're DTC and you're Shopify, that's fine. You got to be on Amazon. If you're on Amazon, you've got to be on one of the other channels. You have to consider a multi-leg strategy. So I want everyone to be very clear about that, that we don't really build just Amazon FBA channels. A single channel is not a business. That's like a risk. It's like having a unicycle, and when the tire goes flat, you can't go anywhere. I prefer bikes with 2 wheels. So at the end of the day, we're going to build brands, launch them, grow them, build intrinsic value in them. And then, of course, you can always escalate that to other groups of PE firms, groups, individuals, investors, or corporate investors later on. And the exit and building with the end in mind is really what I want people to focus on. That way, you're going to learn, this is a 2 or 3 or 4 year business model of growth, exponential growth. It will continue to get easier and, to some degree, more opportunity as you go along, as long as you make it past that first 12 months.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's get started. So say there's we target manufacturers. That's ties in with the name of our show. And so say there's a manufacturer, they are manufacturing all sorts of wonderful widgets, and this whole e-commerce thing is new to them. What would be when they connect with you? Kind of walk us through that starting point, or what are the first stages of how you engage and help that manufacturer get an online presence?
So after doing thousands of launches over the years, we've learned that it's obviously a statistical and numerical game at the end of the line until you determine the product and brand time that's going to take you wide, and until you really establish where that brand and time and market is going to be for you. Initially, you can sell products 0 to 100K. That's fine. But if you want to get to 1 million, you got to build a brand. So it isn't just how many products I throw up at the wall and see what sticks. It is I have a specific brand and agenda, a goal to grow that intellectual property, that IP, and build it into a framework that actually becomes a saleable asset. So with manufacturers, you're going to want to test to fail fast. Okay. So our 5x5 methodology is literally to get 5 products in the market. Okay. And those test market products of 100 units are to determine, can I sell the product? Well, I entered a long time ago. One of the things he beat in my head in the sales world, and beyond ethical selling, of course, which was sales fixes everything. Right. So you can have somebody go out, and this literally just happened in the Olympics. You can have these guys show up with their goggles, they're full setup, and they're laser like this and all this nonsense, and they're all geared up and ready to go. And a dude walks up to the platform with a t-shirt on, puts his hand in his pocket, and plinks off a silver medal. Why? Because he sold it. At the end of the day, he was selling. Everybody else was like, look at all the things I can do. And really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It just matters if you show up. Fortune favors the bold, and that dude was literally acting very bold by just getting up there and making that happen. And he's become an internet legend because of it. Now, if you take that and apply it to the business world, just showing up, of course, is not enough. You actually have to practice, which he did.
Yeah.
And you actually go through the process of practicing by launching products until one of them fires off. When one of them starts to fire off, you simply follow the data. If you're in manufacturing, or we're going to have it manufactured, you take and sell more of the same product and different packaging to more people. You start expanding that brand out based on what the data showed you. If the data shows you they wanted a black extra large one, then make another black extra large with additional features and make 10 more of them. Just follow the data into the niche. It gets easier and easier. The phrase, success is boring is because once you determine what those products and brands are, you just keep repeating the process. And it is a constant repetitive process of finding the data, testing the product, launching the product. Okay. So once we know the data past 100 units will sell in X amount of days, less than 90 days or faster, then I know I can confidently order 1,000 units. So if you're going to go in and do a test, then you can run a 1,000-unit test of what we call a product launch behind that. Once you have the product launch, you'll be into profits. That's your goal, right? Because as I mentioned a minute ago, our product process is the $50 to $200 retail price point. We have to have more than $12 in net profit per unit to really compete on profitability, which is not always volume. People confuse the two, okay? It isn't volume of the total inventory of a product. It's volume of the total inventory of the brand, which means I may have products that sell 200 a month, some that sell 500 a month, some that sell 750 or 1,000 or more a month, okay? But it's profitable sales of those units at the level at which they sell every month, okay? Could they be optimized? Sure. Am I going to spend a huge amount of time optimizing individual products? Yes, which is going to ultimately make one of the differentiators in whether or not that product sells 200 or 500 a month. But sort of market share wise, until you inventory or level up your marketing, at least on Amazon, it's not going to grow larger until you stack that inventory. So one of the opportunities manufacturers have if they're direct to consumer is they can stack more inventory faster than the average dog can. If that's the case, once the metrics are dialed in and the test launches are in and the 1,000 units, which we don't marry our product, okay, until the 1,000 units prove velocity of sales, then you can stack 2, 3, 4, 5,000 units on top of that. And the Amazon's algorithm is literally going to reward you. Okay. It is different than any other platform in that way. It will throttle your sales if you do not have enough inventory to overtake market share currently setting in the system from some other seller who's meeting that demand of the customer already on the platform. You can't put 1,000 units in and expect to sell multi-seven figures.
Yeah. And so it's interesting, the intricacies of this, as you said, Neil, is that how much inventory you commit into the FBA system will help you get more market share.
It will take over that market demand because Amazon's algorithm is not going to intentionally stock you out because they want the product in the system visible to the customer. If they stock you out, that doesn't occur. Can you force it to happen? Yes. Can other factors of, acts of God and Amazon stupidity do it for you? Absolutely. But the intent is that it will be in there and it is available to the customer. If there's more inventory stocked up and here's the big one, are more profitable per a unit than the next competitors above you, Amazon is going to let you rank higher than them. They're an engine of economics. Okay. If I don't have as much product profitability as the ones above me, but I can sell more volume, Amazon's going to know the numbers and determine whether or not it's viable for me to take over that market share.
Yeah.
To meet the demand of their customer, right? Because it's about them. What am I doing on their system? Direct marketing. If you really understand your role as a direct marketer to the consumer, I'm actually selling not to the end consumer on this platform. I'm selling to the algorithm. Okay. This platform is selling to the customers. And it wants the customers and demand to be met and the reviews to be positive and the ecosystem to be good for the customer. You have to meet that demand because they're playing on their platform. You're in their backyard. You went to their barbecue. Don't show up naked, right?
Yeah.
So when you show up, know what you're supposed to be doing. Direct marketing in the channel, okay? And selling products second is what I actually do. Okay. That doesn't mean I create crappy products. No, because I need the economic engine to tell me it's a good product. I need the positive reviews to come through. So I'm not going to sell a crappy product. In my world, that's a given. That's a known. What I'm going to do, though, is spend a lot more time properly marketing and optimizing the product before I take it to market so that when it's in the market, I will do a better job of optimizing and dialing in the product. Others will not do that. And they will not spend the time, energy, attention, and money, the team effort, okay, of making this really work well in the first 12 months.
Yeah. It is so interesting how the Amazon ecosystem is just like its own world.
It's its own platform. It is its own beast. You can't take that knowledge and information, what I just gave you, and get it to work exactly the same way on Shopify. Okay?
Yeah.
You can't get it to work on Walmart.com in the same way because even though they have an ecosystem similar in organic traffic, they don't work the same way and the way they rank and determine product and profitability and the market share of an individual seller. You cannot take that to TikTok and expect to get the same kind of organic ranking unless you do a number of other factors in the demand creation space, because that's a demand creation social platform. It has a very similar, by the way, psychology of buyer, okay, between an Amazon buyer and a TikTok shopper. Why? Because in the last 24 months, the largest growing demographic on TikTok shops is now matching Amazon. So when they get on TikTok shop to buy, they're actually ending up 30% of the time on our Amazon store. Okay, even if it's not our product, if it's a competitor's product they saw on the demand social creation of TikTok, and they don't feel confident in the product or knowing to buy through that platform, they end up on Amazon. And when they find our product, they buy it, even if it wasn't our product, our videos, etc.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fascinating ecosystem. We call it the halo effect, right?
Yeah.
So between this halo effect of online properties, while you may start on Amazon first, I do, to get that demand creation, validation, incubation of the product in this, 8,600 units a minute monster machine that nobody knows how the hell this thing even really truly works, and why it works at all is a freaking miracle.
Yeah.
And then you take it out to social commerce and you say, okay, create demand for it. Create more demand in this space so that I will see it positively affect this space. Now that I know this space exists and I'm capturing demand and I'm organically growing year over year, by years 2 and 3, I can then go out and start creating more demand and get more visibility. Amazon also, by the way, this is a long answer to your question, sorry, is now marketing on sponsored ads directly through Prime, Twitch, Freevee, and all their channels, and are now going to be direct response marketing, advertising to an individual person watching a documentary for fishing. They're going to know that you're a fisher and only put ads in front of you about fishing. Okay. And this is a new system rolling in within Amazon that will be a super big change to the way they currently run the platform. It's called Cosmo. They implemented the first aspect of it called Rufus recently, but the Cosmo they tested back in February, which means they're already starting to slowly roll this out. They only tested it on 10% back in February. And at a $4.9 billion market cap change in just 10%. Okay. And it is about targeted, hyper-targeted aspect of advertising. Think of Minority Report. Anybody seen that movie?
Yep.
Okay. Where they target you to your ad specifically to who you are. That's what's coming.
Yeah.
Fascinating time.
It is an absolute fascinating time. So Neil, man, fantastic breakdown. I think people are going to have to hit the rewind button a couple of times to catch everything. Do you, on a B2B side, anything that you want to could take us there on the B2B side?
So if you're going to own your own brand, you should wholesale, right? Once you have an opportunity to own the brand, you've got the back-end manufacturing locked in, maybe primary, secondary, tertiary, based on different locations around the world, based on time to market, speed of particular product types. Maybe some are in the US and you deliver them faster at a higher price point versus the separate types of products that are being delivered maybe out of Vietnam or India, maybe China. Don't always recommend to go to China first. Everybody always thinks you have to go to China first, but you don't. There's stuff in Pakistan. There's stuff down in South America. There's all kinds of good stuff happening, right? So the basic B2B premise is once I own the brand and control, I then look to attract wholesalers. And a lot of times when I'm on these channels, they actually approach us, right? So one of my customers, actually it was my, not the customer this time, it was my partner has a separate brand that he runs within a vertical brand owner. They found him on Amazon and asked him to come over and sell everything on Macy's.com for his kitchen brand because they found him and then he built a B2B relationship with them to sell through their product channel, right? So those opportunities are out there when they come. If you're an individual or direct-to-consumer seller versus setting up an entire B2B channel. There's, of course, an opportunity to do that directly. However, I've found that it's easier to get the DTC first, prove the brand, prove the marketplace, and then attract B2B opportunities in behind you.
So I know, how about for, we have a lot of custom manufacturers where they're not selling a finished good per se, but they have a great B2B where they're in a supply chain somewhere and there's great opportunities. How about, could you elaborate on that?
So in other words, outreach towards more D2C folks or sell them directly themselves.
No, not to consumers. So say, I make a part that, is somewhere in the food chain of aerospace or, but that same part could go into marine, that same boat could go into auto. So, I'm not selling to Joe consumer or weekend warrior. I'm not selling direct to consumer. I'm selling to other B2B folks in that supply chain.
Well, their best bet in terms of discovering those relationships is to either, in terms of finding them and delivering, there are millions. There's 1.2 million Amazon FBA sellers alone. There's 850,000 Shopify owners. Actually, there's 2.8 million Shopify stores. Okay. So in that way, there's a lot of opportunity for B2Bs to do some cold outreach, leveraged outreach, group outreach, partnering with courses, consulting, and advertising firms and say, hey, we're a B2B manufacturer. We're looking for direct relationships. We've got custom parts, custom this. We can customize that. We can private label this. It's just going to need to be more of a concerted outreach. I don't think they do it very well. I think they're trying to just get them to be attracted somehow to them. I don't see it a lot. We actually have to find most of them. And most of the good ones are not doing a lot of outreach. And I think that's a lost opportunity for them, is to literally just get cold outreach, build a podcast around it, do a guest podcasting with other B2C channel operators and get the awareness that, hey, we're a brand that can create X, Y, Z. We can't do ABC, but we can do these specific things. And if it fits and you want supplements, we can do that. If you want parts and manufacturing, we can do that. Like, they don't see a lot of them doing enough cold outreach. We certainly don't get hit up by them, and which I would be surprised why not. But we actually end up having to go find them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the thing, is we talk about that a lot, is manufacturers tend to be the best kept secret in a lot of cases if they're not selling D2C.
Yes.
And there are a lot of D2C brands that have to look for manufacturers every single day.
Yeah.
And it's that marrying those two together is where the real B2B people win.
Not doing it is an opportunity cost. Some of the manufacturers we discovered, we've actually said, hey, we could create you a house brand. We can operate it. And since you're the manufacturer, we'll become the DTC front end and operate it. Why don't you just focus on the manufacturing and we'll take that over? And like, oh, okay, let's create a house brand together. So we do. And help them move that house brand out into market. With trusted suppliers and time and market, we can do that.
Okay. So let's tie in. So you mentioned podcasts. You have an amazing podcast. I believe you have a best-selling book. Could you talk a little bit about your podcast and your book?
Want me to brag on myself now?
I would love. Your mom reached out to me. She said, "Would you please have Neil brag about himself?"
Yep. I thought that's why we were here, was just to talk all about me.
He's too modest. He's too humble. But just if you could just share a little bit about your book and a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, in simple terms, not to be braggadocious, we do have a top 5% global podcast now called the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. It is about interviewing folks like yourselves and others in business and finance and marketing for expertise and growth, the entrepreneurial story. It's e-commerce related, it's real estate related, it's wealth without Wall Street related. It is the business of doing business in different verticals. From experts who are specifically vetted to do that between 1 to 5 million or more. And those are the guests that are on that show. I took a segment of them and I actually built a book around it. So there are 15 different experts from my podcast who are good in each vertical area of e-commerce, and specifically Amazon FBA and multi-channel and DTC. And then I compiled that into 15 interviews and we put our case studies in there along with our 5x5 strategy that is outlined in the book. It's this strategy. If you want tactics, that comes in implementation. This is the strategy of how to actually make that work. Why do I not do tactical in the book? Because so many other people are like, here's the book, here's all the tactics. What people don't understand is how to make that successful as a strategy. So we wrote the book to be a strategy, because I can teach the tactics to a 19-year-old high school dropout and a 16-year-old. Ask me how, right? So the book was built around them and then was released in January. Kevin Harrington wrote the foreword, which is awesome. A mentor of mine and friend from a long time ago, first shark on on the Shark Tank. Didn't have to go to the Shark Tank myself, just went to the mentors, and has built, a $6 billion industry around the SC non-TV brand. Very cool dude. And he wrote the foreword for the book. And so now we give it away at times, or we lead it out there. It's available on Amazon for people to go understand what the actual strategy is for an e-commerce deployment starting on Amazon FBA. It's called Almost Automated Income with FBA.
Nice. Awesome. Neil, without giving away the secret sauce, because whoever's listening absolutely needs to go out and purchase that book. Could you walk us through, is there one case study in particular that really stands out that was, maybe somebody was floundering or just didn't know what to do, where to turn, and you guys came in and just kind of turned that, got that magic wand going and just really exploded things? Is there any particular stories in particular that you'd like to share?
There's a number of them. I'm trying to think of which ones would be most relevant. Most recent. How about that? In relevant.
Sure, there you go.
Okay. There's a gentleman who came in and he had started out and tried to build the brand himself for the first 6 months. I think he started on a course, spent almost $200,000 in 6 months getting the entire business off the ground. So he was in debt by a long shot and didn't really have a growing business and wanted to shut it down. So he comes to us and said, hey, look, either I build this business or I shut it down. And I said, well, you've got all these things going on. Let's focus. One channel until successful, Amazon until 7 figures, and then multi-channel. Let's break this back down into what are you doing and what can you do better? Here is the strategy. You've got all this tactical stuff you're doing and these growth hacks and all these things you're trying to consume and do, which I see is basically creating this cloud of ambiguity around your business. And you're not actually sure what you're really good at. And I'm like, what are you like really good at? And he's like, well, these are the things I'm really good at. And I'm like, great. Those are, your strengths and weaknesses, threats and opportunities. I have all the resources over here to fill in the gap on the things you're not good at. So if you just focus on this one strategy, we'll take that 200,000 and we'll turn it into a positive. So after 6 months of that, we got him net positive 200,000. So as we took away the mess, we took away the ambiguity and focused him down on just the 5 steps he needed to work on every day, week and month. He turned that business around. I give him credit for following and executing the steps. As the say goes in the country, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink.
Yeah.
So he drank the water and he executed the water and he went through that process. Okay, fast forward, got an email from him. This is 18 months later, just this past July 4th, 2024. He emails and said, hey, I'd love to do an updated podcast. So I got him scheduling to do an updated case study. I'm at $500,000 a month. I'm hiring separate people to go in and back down the resources. I'm going for $1 million a month. And I'd love to come on your podcast and get updated information from you. So I hadn't heard from him for about 4 months because he was in operations mode. He did what he needed to do. He was mentoring a few things and questions along the way. And then he just pops up and says that to me. And I'm like, cool, let's get you on the podcast.
Yeah.
So $500,000 a month. And his market share, by the way, is like 0.01%. So
ooh, even better.
I have consulted with some of his larger vertical competitions who are doing about 100,000 units a month on Amazon. And so he's by no measure hit their run rate yet. So he has a lot of growth opportunity in his market.
Well, congratulations. What a phenomenal story. Could you, we talk, a common theme on our show is digital transformation, resistance.
Yep.
Can you give any tips or insight why do you think he was finally able to, listen to you or like get through that transition? Can you just share, were there any tips? You're dealing with thousands of different entrepreneurs. What are some?
This guy is a unique a little bit in the way that when we sat down and we talked and we kind of cut this out and cut the sales out, as the saying goes, when the student is ready, the mentor will appear. Mm-hmm. And he was ready to listen. Yeah. It was like, well, I have no other option, so I want to listen. And you're saying things that others have not told me in detail that I've never heard them say before. And that's because the way we do business, we invite. I don't sell. I don't have a course. I don't do that. I have a consultancy that's very exclusive to only people I want to work with. And I said, well, if you think you're going to be the executable person, then we're going to do this for a while and we're going to make sure it works right. He was willing to take action. He actually did it. He was in a point where he was ready to do it. When others come and have conversations, they typically look and say, well, you convinced me to do this. You tell me why you're better. You tell me why this is a good thing. I'm not going to tell you why. There's business all over the place. If you don't like e-com, go do real estate. Yeah. If that doesn't work for you, go flip products on eBay. I don't know. Do something that makes you happy and can be profitable, but don't put me in the limelight of your success and don't put me as the person in between you and your ability to execute. Okay. That's FOMO. I don't have any of that. I don't want any of that. People come in constantly thinking, okay, well, the grass is greener over here. Why am I not doing this? And why are you not saying this? And why shouldn't I be doing this growth hack? And this guy over here said I should go do this. And I'm like, you know what we say in the country about grass being on the green on their side? Because there's a septic tank over there. That's why the grass is green. You're literally going to step in shit if you go over there. So stay focused, literally stay focused. One thing, people are like, well, I'm going to miss out on all this opportunity. No, actually, you're going to destroy the whole thing because you are not focused on one activity daily, weekly, and monthly as you're doing each of them in order. Follow a process. So come to the process. It's been done by many other people. Okay. Yeah. The last part of that whole conversation is I get too many people who think they're just smarter than everything. They're so smart. They don't do anything, but they tell you all about it. And what I have is a group of people, and I love them to death, and they're not dumb. They're just street smart. So they're willing to do, and sometimes they don't even know why they're not going to do it. They're just going to do it anyways until they're successful. So they don't question it. They just do it. They take action. They show up in their t-shirt and their shorts and they shoot off their silver medals. And those are the people that I love to work with because they are humble enough to know that they're not the smartest guy and they're not going to sit around telling you they're so smart. That's what vegans are for. And so they actually go out there, eat the meat and do it.
Dude, that was phenomenal, man. Drop the mic right there, Damon. So what I love it. So do you want to just share a little bit, Neil, on like on the voltage process, your system? Sure. Again, when somebody comes in, what's that look like?
So we test market everything. Okay. No one orders 1,000 units unless they decide as the business owner, they want to do that with all criteria of risk laid out, because that's not exactly my process. So if you choose to do that, you're the business owner. Okay. But my 5x5 methodology is to take and get 5 products in the system selling organically 25 units a day. Okay. That's it. Only 25 with $12 minimum net profit per unit. They should be bringing in around $300 a day in profit. Okay. Not a lot, but it's $9,000 a month in profit if you do it right. That's about $109,000 a year minus Prime Day and holidays, you'll get to about 150K in the first 12 to 16 months. That is doable at a base case, what's called a base case in business. Okay. Now, everybody wants to get to the high case, but nobody wants to do the work. That's like saying, well, I'm super wise, but I didn't have any experience and any knowledge. I'm just super wise because I'm a 19-year-old life coach with a verified Twitter account. But the end result is that they don't want to go through the execution. So we take them through the execution. First step is to test those products, know their 50 to 200 in retail price point, more than $12 in net profit. Organic sales first in the first 7 to 21 days. Okay. If it doesn't work in the first 7 to 21 days on organic, something is wrong. Okay. One of the things most people do not understand about this engine. Okay. And I've been around this engine for a long time. And when I was at IBM, I helped develop a component of it at the Super Watson Armonk lab and IBM when we were there for this human machine language management system. Okay. This LMS system that was based on artificial intelligence. I was way back in the day, guys. Like, I'm going to date myself a long time ago. Long story short, they built a platform of LMS for knowledge and information learning against physical products. They were the first to really do it right, but it was based on a component. So I've been studying this thing for a long time. And again, it's about to change very dramatically. But here's the thing. If you now go into Amazon and you run PPC ads in the first 24 hours of the product ASIN launch, they will be holding you to that PPC campaign from that point forward. Okay. Meta does the same thing, and so do other platforms of purchase. Okay, they force you to pay for the traffic. If you get Amazon's organic ranking first, dialed in, okay, first impressions, clicks, hopefully sales in that first period of time, and then you add PPC campaigns, it's gas to fire. Okay, data first, organic first, then PPC. So we always test that method, 100 units, 90 days or less. Can I move it in 60 days? That will determine how fast. If I move it in 90, I'll maybe do 500 to 1,000. If I do it in less than 60, I'll do 1,000 units. Okay. When the 1,000 unit test goes out, that's going from revenue and what the heck do I sell and who do I sell it to? And can I keep selling it because no other act of God, Amazon or some otherwise has stopped me? Then I'm moving into profit with that 1,000 units, confidently moving into profit because everything is going up. Okay. Just following the data. So the more products I put, you know what a Gantt chart is, right, guys?
Yeah.
So the more products I put in a price pipeline, not 90 days by 90 days, or what I see people doing over way too much time, marrying their products and getting bogged down in the business. You launch faster and faster and faster to find that data sooner. Go from the funnel down into the cylinder. Once you're in the cylinder, as I mentioned earlier, and you drop down, you just sell more products and different packaging to the same people. You expand that share across marketplace in Amazon. And the more products you put in, the more money you're going to make, because the more products you have selling in the system, the faster you will rank. One last tip for those who are paying attention. Okay. If you got 10 SKUs in your Amazon seller account, that's not what I'm talking about. Because if you have 4 of those or 2 of those making up 80% of all of your sales, the other SKUs are dragging your account down. Okay. But Neil, I've got green lights. My seller health count is wrong. Wrong. Doesn't matter. They're not telling you. What they're not telling you is your metrics behind the scene are dragging down your brand account. Remove those other SKUs or let them sell out and keep only the top selling SKUs in the system and watch what happens. You'll get an entire lift in the accounts ranking online.
Okay. Man, there's some priceless Amazon tips right
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
I
what
really
I
do.
love about talking with Neil is you guys study this in depth. You know how to
Every
do
day,
it,
dude.
and then you're launching products every day.
And I'm acquiring companies at volume.
Yeah.
So at that case, I have to know what we're doing in this operation space, or we simply can't run these companies at volume.
Yeah.
And these companies are 5, 10, 20 million that we're looking to buy right now.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, Neil, I know you're super busy. And so, hey, we've got Sarah that says, hey, Neil, we need the resources.
Resources. What kind of resources do you want?
Thank you. I think she was commenting on one of your comments. So,
Okay, resources.
So connect. You and Sarah should absolutely connect. She is a powerhouse, Damon. She's a dear friend.
Okay.
We have a question for you from Ruben. Does it make sense to create a podcast campaign to promote a service that helps brands protect themselves from counterfeiting? Or is this type of podcast focused on selling on Amazon? Any comments there?
So there's a 2-part aspect, I think, to your question, Ruben. It was one on the product brand side and another one on the business side, if I heard that section correctly. So on the business side, you would create a podcast to just reach the audience and tell people what I'm telling you right now and keep a very level, transparent understanding of how the business actually works correctly. Yeah. For example, I won't tell anybody to start Amazon today with less than 25 in capital, minimum. Okay. Why? Because of myself, our business, and other people like us, we're creating an ecosystem within the online e-commerce world and Amazon now that means you're not going to compete with us at larger levels anymore unless you're willing to deploy the capital to go after the business we're going after. It just means we're going to take the market share and you're not going to get it back from us, which means you have to compete at our level. If you come in with a $5,000 need for business products, you're not going to make it on that money. You won't. You'll have to get more capital later. They don't want to tell you that because they want you in their $7,000 course, and I don't care. So at the end of it, you want to know that you have to deploy capital at volume for growth. So the faster you do it up front, the faster the results will come and the more you have to deploy. Okay. For example, we'll deploy up to $1 million in 4 years to a brand to turn it into an 8-figure business.
Yep.
You got to be able to do this. Okay. Or you can't compete on volume like everyone else tells you can. It simply won't happen on the smaller amounts. Okay. So on the other half of that, there was 2 parts to the podcast angle. That would be one for broadcasting who you are and making transparent communication and getting your brand visibility out there for where you are. The other one would be a niche podcast, okay, about a specific brand or type element to a customer solution that your product solves. Okay. So you might podcast on just home and kitchen. Okay. And you may have a home and kitchen brand of which the products could be mentioned or featured, or you bring in other guests or chefs or experts into that podcast to talk about home and kitchen. And oh, by the way, this is sponsored by XYZ brand exclusively on Amazon right now. Mm-hmm. And you niche the podcast directly down to the area. You micro focus in to the podcast for the brand that you're supporting and continue to bring in more guests to amplify, say, the home and kitchen and baking goods or whatever it is you're in. And then just reference the product, go over to Amazon. The link is below. And always use your brand referral links so that you can get that 10% off your brand product purchase. Right. So you pay less and then use it as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Neil, thank you. And what Sarah is asking about the book. And so the book, the podcast is High Voltage Business Builders Podcast.
That's correct.
High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. And the book is Almost Automated Income with FBA. And again, strongly encourage you, invite you, connect with Neil on LinkedIn. Sarah, you and Neil, my goodness gracious, you guys would be best friends. Connect with Sarah. She is a powerhouse. And so I think there's a lot of collaboration opportunity there. Damon, we'll start winding down. I know we're coming into time. Neil, my last question for you. IBM, you're at one of the top companies in the planet. You decided to leave the corporate. How did you describe it when you left IBM?
Fire the man.
You left the man. You fired the man.
Fired the man.
Fired the man. You start your own business, 2007. Right. I think there was like a little economic thing going on when you
just a little bit in the world. Just a little bit. There's always something going on.
Just a little bit. When you launched your entrepreneurial journey, what was the best business advice that you've ever received or that you'd love to pass along to anybody out there today? Best business advice.
The first one was get a mentor. It took me 3 years before I finally figured that one out and had some serious troubles in what I was going to do and how I was going to focus. And by the time I got a mentor, he ingrained some very simple things into my brain that have stuck with me ever since then. And one of them was sales fixes everything. Show up and sell something. The difference in that is don't be a used car salesman. Okay. Everybody's like, well, you sell something. That means you're out to take something from somebody and you only want for yourself. No, there's ethics in selling and inviting, and there's business ethics and development of businesses or brands or products and services. There's a way to sell ethically. Okay. And that was one of the major things he instilled with me. Do not be afraid to sell. Do not be afraid to fail 7 times. So the 8th time you get something good. Right. And you just have to keep failing to succeed faster. All right. People see failure as a complete reason to quit. And I see failure as what did I do wrong and how can I do it better?
Yeah.
Okay. You just have to change and shift. And so that was something that I learned instilled in me from my father, to not give up, be tenacious, keep going. Don't take no for an answer. The no you may tell me is a KNOW. And until you tell me hell no, at that point, I might back off. Okay. So that's where I understand the boundaries and the selling of information and the opportunity for consulting. And so that was really a big one. And frankly, the last one that hit me the most was excuses. I used to make stupid excuses for things because I thought that that's what I would need for someone to invest time or money or help me up or give me a simple accolade that I thought I might need from them. So I'd use an excuse. But here's the quote that came to me once upon a time. Your opportunity begins at the end of your excuse. Okay. When you set the excuses aside, the opportunities will come. No one wants to hear your excuses. Okay. They want to hear your defeats. They want you to fail. You just have to expect that. They don't truly want you to succeed beyond where they are, especially if they can't see where you're going and feel like you're not going to take them with you or that they're going to get left behind. Okay. Once you get past all that, this whole thing with business, okay, last point is all mindset. I don't care if you're in real estate. I don't care if you start a mowing company, because I started when I was 12 to make extra cash because I couldn't get what I needed unless I side hustled this. That's when my GoFundMe was going out and mowing lawns.
Yeah. Okay?
And if you want someone to hand to you something for free because you feel they're entitled to do it because they have it and you don't come to my doorstep, because this is not going to be met with positivity. Okay. Which means that you need to stand up, be 100% accountable for what you're doing, and go after it. And when you do that, others will help you out, and then you can help other people get into servant leadership. And that is the best reward of all.
Dude, bang, drop the mic right there. Ruben says, thanks for your answer. And so,
Sure.
Neil, that was phenomenal, dude. Thank you for that jam session right there. I've taken tons of notes. Damon, thoughts, takeaways from today's little conversation?
No, like just reiterating what Curt said, thanks so much for stopping by. I mean, I've always enjoyed your knowledge base in launching Amazon products and how you guys do it, the systematic approach to going, okay, this is what we do step by step by step by step. And the no bullshit part about it, right? You gotta this is what we need to do, or it's just not going to work. And because you've been through this so much, your experience level, just love listening to you. I've got tons of notes as well.
And yes, that is a chicken. I'm sorry, I did turn off. That literally is one of my roosters because I live on 50 acres in the country out here. And, and so he's literally just living his best life right outside my window.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Neil, we're going to wind down. Again, connect with Neil here on LinkedIn. He's the CEO of Voltage Holdings, just Amazon expert. He's got his podcast. He's got his book. Just connect with Neil on he's the go-to guy for everything Amazon. And I think, what do we hear in the background there?
That's my chicken.
That a boy. So, hey, even
awesome.
I come complete with my own entertainment.
Neil. So
thanks,
Neil,
guys.
we want to thank you. We appreciate you. We applaud you. What an inspiration you are. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us.
My pleasure.
Again, please connect with Neil to help you with any of your Amazon questions. Damon, we'll wind down and we will be back here on Friday with once again an amazing, incredible guest, and we'll just keep the party rolling.
All right.
I love the chicken. We have never had a chicken on the show. Let's just take another moment to hear
you have not.
take another moment to hear the chicken.
Is he going to operate on command? I don't know. He's pretty stubborn.
No, I don't think they're going to.
Okay.
He's not going to do it. Sorry, Curt.
Neil, thank you. How many chickens do you have?
We have like 70.
70.
Yeah, we have like 30 ducks and animals and stuff. We're busy people with our farm out here.
If you need chickens and ducks, Neil's your guy. But Neil, in all seriousness, thank you. This was a master class in Amazon. This is what you do. I'm looking at your website, all sorts of great information that you deliver. There was the chicken. See, I knew, Damon, if we talk about it up,
came back.
Chicken back on.
They came back and helped us.
All right, guys, we'll see you. Hang out with us for 1 second. Neil, God bless everybody. Thank you for today, and we will talk to you soon.